my background? Background. Hey, good evening, everyone. This is Michelle Holland with the Virginia Department of Transportation joining you. My name is showing up as Barbara House. That's because she is the owner of the account. But this is Michelle Holland. I'm the communications manager with VDOT's Mega Projects department. And I would like to welcome you all here this evening to our Transform 66 Outside the Beltway briefing on Gallows Road and the upcoming traffic shift and bridge demolition work. We thank you for joining us this evening. I'm joined by our Mega Projects Director at VDOT, Susan Shaw, as well as Nancy Smith. Nancy is the Public Affairs Manager for the contractor, the design build contractor on the project, Dam Construction. And I'm here with Justin McNall of our VDOT project team. I'd like to welcome and say hello to our elected officials who have joined us tonight. We have Delegate Simon with us and Supervisor Palchuk. So we'd like to thank you for joining us. I'd also like to recognize our partners from Fairfax County Department of Transportation staff who are here this evening, including Tom Basadny, who is the Director of Transportation for Fairfax County. Thank you for being here, Tom, this evening. Tonight's agenda includes a presentation that will be followed by a question and answer session. The meeting is intended to be informal and offer participants an opportunity to learn more and interact with our project team. Tonight's session is being streamed live and recorded on VDOT's live YouTube channel. The recording will be available publicly tomorrow on our project website at transform66.org. We are asking all attendees to remain muted throughout the duration of the meeting to minimize background noise and ensure that all participants can hear. Once we get to the question and answer portion of the meeting, I will go back over the details of how to ask your question. But just to give you a brief overview, we are using the chat feature tonight for questions. And once we turn the chat function on, if you have a question, just go ahead and type out your question in the chat function. The chat button is located in the lower right portion of your screen. You want to make sure that you click on send to everyone. And be aware that anyone on the meeting and everyone can see what you are asking. So please only, keep the use of the chat function tonight for just project-related questions. If you'd like to ask your question rather than have us read it, please just state that in your chat message and we will do so. We will be turning the chat function on and off throughout the meeting so we can manage the process and keep up with the questions. And if you have joined by phone, you can press *3, which will show us that you've raised your hand, and then we'll add you to the queue of questions, and we'll announce it when it's your turn to ask your question. And if you've joined us through the YouTube recording, you will not be able to ask a question or interact with us, but you can also always, use that phone option, the phone number, or you can follow up with us tomorrow and we'd be happy to answer any questions. So before we start our presentation, I'd like to ask Delegate Simon, did you have any comments or would you like to say anything to our attendees before we start?
Sorry about that. No, actually, I'm just glad you guys are here. This has been a long process. I've been happy to participate, I think, over the last 8 years in watching this come together. And it seems like we're finally getting, I don't know where we are, I would say near the end, but we're making some substantial progress. And so I look forward to getting the briefing on what we're going to do with the bridge. I drive over it all the time between Falls Church and getting to Merrifield and the Mosaic. So just looking forward to the presentation.
Great. Thank you, Delegate Simon. We appreciate that. And I'd like to turn it over now to Supervisor Palchuk. If you would like to take this opportunity to say a few words to our attendees. Supervisor Palchuk? We can always come back to you if you got pulled off. Okay, we'll go ahead and plan to do that then. Okay, I'd like to now ask Susan Shaw to kick off our briefing. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Michelle. Good to be here with everybody tonight. If we can advance to the next slide, great. Just a reminder of what we are building. 2 express lanes with where HOV3 and buses will travel for free. Anybody that is non-HOV would be tolled, and the tolls will be based on the levels of congestion in the express lanes. The 3 regular lanes will stay open to all traffic, and there won't be any tolls. And we're making improvements as we work on this corridor to make improvements to the general purpose lanes, adding ramp to ramp connections, and looking to see where we can improve safety, especially between interchanges. And then once the lanes are up and running, there will be new transit service as well as other multimodal improvements. We've been working to open park and ride lots at the west end of the facility with over 4,000 spaces there. And in fact, one of those is open, and new bus service is running out of that today as we speak near University Boulevard. And then there also will be significant bicycle and pedestrian trail improvements along the corridor. So on the next slide, you can just see our timeline, and this timeline is from when we really began construction activity back in 2017. So it has been a long road, I will say, as you can see here. And so, where we are today, it's about 14 months until the express lanes open in December of 2022. The contractor is on schedule for that opening. You can see there will be some work that continues after that. And so there will be various construction elements that would still remain, but the majority of the work will be done by December of 2022. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Nancy to get us started on some of the details, which is really what you all are here to learn about in terms of what's coming up for Gallows Road and on the eastern end of the project. So Nancy.
Thanks, Susan. So on Gallows Road, I'm just going to go through what we've been building, and then kind of moving forward, discussing demolition, and then construction that remains to be done. So as you may be aware, we are rebuilding Gallows Road Bridge over I-66. Work is being done in 2 phases in order to maintain traffic on Gallows Road over 66 through construction. The new Gallows Road will be a wider bridge. It will be than the old or current bridge. It will be the alignment is shifting slightly to the east, and we'll also have improved bike and pedestrian facilities on the bridge as well. In the photo that you see here on the screen, it's looking towards the north, so you can kind of make out the ball fields at Stenwood Elementary School in that upper left-hand corner of the photo. You see the current today Gallows Road Bridge on the left-hand side, and what looks like white brand new concrete is the what will be the future permanent northbound lanes of Gallows Road over I-66. As I said earlier, this bridge is being built in 2 phases. So in order to build the future southbound lanes of Gallows Road over 66, we actually need to demolish the existing Gallows Road and to be able to begin that construction. So here very soon, on or about the week of October 11th, so sometime next week, we will shift the northbound travel lanes of Gallows Road onto the new bridge that you see here in the picture. And then about a week later, the week of October 18th, we will then shift the southbound travel lanes of Gallows Road onto that new bridge. While we shift the northbound travel lanes, pedestrian access over I-66 will remain on the old Gallows Road bridge, and the pedestrian access will remain on that old bridge until the southbound travel lanes of Gallows Road are shifted onto that new bridge. Once those southbound travel lanes are shifted onto the new bridge, pedestrian access across I-66 will be on the east side of the new bridge, and there will be sidewalk connection over to across Gallows Road on the south side crosswalk connection to the Metro WMATA Dunmore Metro Station on the west side of Gallows on the south end. I would note that the shift is actually south of where the entrance to the Stenwood Elementary School is off Gallows Road. So there's no impact to the entrance at Stenwood Elementary School at this time, as the work is south of there. If you are a parent that uses that entrance to drop your kids on and off at school at that location. So Karen, if you want to flip to the next slide. Thank you. Once both the north and southbound travel lanes are shifted onto the new bridge, we will begin demolition work of the old Gallows Road Bridge. We anticipate getting that started on or about October 23rd, once all the traffic is shifted off the bridge. When we are working over the travel lanes of I-66 and as well over the Dunmore Metro Rail Station, our demolition work must be done during overnight hours. That's typically between 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. And that is for when multiple lanes of I-66 can be closed, and it's safe to work over the Metro Rail station and tracks when the station is closed and the tracks are shut down. And that's both for the safety of our workers as well as the traveling public and the Metro users. Any demolition work on the bridge that does not occur over the I-66 travel lanes or over the Metro Rail station will be done during the daytime hours whenever possible. We do anticipate that the demolition of the bridge will continue through the late fall with approximately 30 to 40 nights of demolition needed. That is obviously dependent upon weather and other factors. And I would point out that these are not necessarily 30 to 40 consecutive nights of demolition, and some demolition activities are less disruptive than others. Would note in the schedule we have no demolition work currently scheduled to take place during the Thanksgiving holiday weekend. Karen, actually, if you would go back to that slide really fast, I did want to point something out in the photo. As you can see here in the photo is looking looking towards the west, and so you can see in the Dunmore Metro Station in the middle of I-66, and in the, right above the station, you see where that new bridge deck is. The new bridge deck is actually slightly higher than the old bridge deck. And one of the reasons why the demolition will take a little bit longer at a period of time at this location is because of the proximity of the Dunmore Metro Station building itself to the bridge. There are only a matter of feet between the top of the station, the Metro Rail station, and the old Gallows Road Bridge itself. So the work over top of that Metro Rail station is very closely coordinated with WMATA and has to be done very carefully. So Karen, if you would go to the next slide, I'll explain how some of that's going to be done. Thank you. So the images on here are maybe kind of small on your screen, and I know that VDOT will be posting this presentation to the project website tomorrow. So if you're interested in the details, you would be able to pull that up on the project website and look at more closely. But what you see are these are just some of the images at the top, towards the top, are kind of visual examples of what demolition involves. So demolition of the concrete bridge deck does involve breaking up the concrete using equipment such as jackhammers, saw cutters, and hoe rams. And then once the concrete deck is removed, we remove the steel bridge beams with use of cranes, and then we'll remove the concrete piers and abutments with saw cutters and jackhammers and hoe rams. When we are working directly over the Metro Rail station, which is the center span of 5 on this bridge, as I mentioned previously, that work is very closely coordinated with WMATA and must be done during the overnight hours. This because of the sensitivity of the Metro Rail facility underneath, the center span, span 3, will be demolished first, and the concrete deck needs to be saw cut out in order to protect the station and the rail tracks underneath. So the concrete will actually be saw cut and then lifted out and away to not allow material to fall onto the station below. Once the span over the Metro Rail station is complete, we will then work our way north. And you can't really see it, the numbers on here, but we will begin with the span over 66 West, which must be done during overnight hours over those travel lanes. Once the span over the travel lanes of 66 West is complete, then we will demolish span 5, which is out of traffic and can be done, will be try to be done during daytime hours. We will then demolish the piers on the westbound side of the bridge. The piers must be done during overnight hours because of the proximity to travel lanes. Once the piers and the bridge spans are gone on westbound, we will then move to the south side of the bridge over I-66 East, demolish over the eastbound travel lanes of I-66 and work our way south in a similar fashion as I described for the northern half of the bridge. The 2 bridge abutments of the old bridge will be demolished during the daytime hours. Karen, if you want to go to the next slide. Demolition activities do generate unavoidable noise and other disruptions such as light and loud, sometimes odd noises. We do our best to minimize the impacts as much as feasible. So you can see a listing of some of the things that we will be doing to try to minimize the impact as much as we are able. The concrete will be hauled away to be processed off-site. And we will be working to direct our work area lighting towards the roadway and where we're working and away from residents when we're working during those overnight hours. We'll be implementing dust control measures to keep the concrete dust to as much of a minimum as feasible. And we'll also be monitoring our construction vibrations as well as noise. Obviously weather is a large factor, particularly when we need to have travel lanes closed. You can keep updated on the progress of demolition as well as any changes to schedules on the project website. The project, there's a direct page on Gallows Road on the project website. You can see the web link here. It's outside.transform66.org/Gallows Road. And the project team will be keeping that web page updated throughout the demolition process on progress and any upcoming travel impacts as well. If you are traveling on I-66 through the area, there will be overnight lane closures on either I-66 East or West near Gallows Road when we are demolishing over top of those travel lanes. The information would be sent out via our email alert systems that many of you I know receive, but will also be posted on the project website updated on a weekly basis. Thanks, Karen. So once demolition of the old Gallows Road bridge is complete, we will begin construction of the second phase, or what will be the new southbound span of Gallows Road over 66. We will begin, the initial work will be to begin building the new bridge abutments with pile driving, which would be done during daytime hours. We will then begin once the pile driving is done for the new abutments, we will work on constructing the new bridge piers. And I would note that the bridge pier that is on the westbound travel lanes of I-66 next to the Dunmore Metro Station, it must be closely coordinated with WMATA, and it must be done during overnight hours due to the proximity of the Metro rail station. However, for these, for this center bridge pier next to the station, this will be done using drills, so not as disruptive as many other demolition or pile driving activities. Once the bridge abutment and piers are constructed, we'll begin working on the retaining walls for the two bridges for the north and south abutment. And then that will take us through the end of the year and into winter of next year. Then we will be setting the bridge beams over top of I-66 in the metro station for the new bridge span. Once the beams are set, there'll be bridge deck work to prepare the bridge deck. We will realign the west side of Gallows Road, approaching the new bridge to be able to realign those new southbound travel lanes. And then once the work is complete and the bridge is ready to accept traffic, we will shift the southbound lanes of Gallows Road to a new bridge span. I do have a little footnote here. Obviously, the final alignment of Gallows Road, there will need to be some work done to tie in the entrance at the Stenwood Elementary School to the permanent roadway alignment. And once we get to that point, we will be closely coordinating with the school facilities on timing and work around that school entrance. And we did want to mention an item that is a little to the west of where most of you probably live, but is an interchange that you likely use as maybe a backup to, or how you may get to I-66. From your residence or to in place going to and from work. At Nutley Street Interchange, we are redesigning the Nutley Street Interchange, and we did just have a fairly significant traffic pattern change that was implemented over this past weekend. So we wanted to bring this to your attention. On the screen, you can see the red cursor kind of going over the middle, where you see we have set up a work zone on Nutley Street. We've actually temporarily shifted the northbound travel lanes of Nutley Street to the west side of the bridge. And today there are two travel lanes in each direction on Nutley Street over I-66, but they are both traveling on the west side, or what has traditionally been the southbound travel lanes of Nutley Street. Pedestrian access currently is detoured to the west side of the bridge. And this traffic pattern will remain in place through approximately January of 2022. And this is to allow us to do some bridge deck rehabilitation to be able to repurpose the existing Nutley bridge, the Nutley Street Bridge over I-66 as we reconstruct the interchange. We also, this past weekend, opened two permanent ramps. Similar to the two loop ramps that existed in close in close alignment to where they are today. However, the new ramps have an improved geometry to improve safety on and off of Nutley Street onto I-66. The ramp from Nutley Street South to I-66 East was Temporarily, we had drivers making a left-hand turn at a temporary traffic signal to access that. Today, if you drive out there, you would no longer make that left-hand turn at a signal, but would rather stay to the right-hand side as you approach I-66 on southbound Nutley, and then exit to the right onto this new loop ramp onto eastbound 66. The other ramp that we opened over the weekend was the ramp from Nutley Street North to I-66 West. Similar to the ramp I just discussed, drivers on northbound Nutley prior to this weekend were making a left-hand turn at a temporary traffic signal to access westbound 66. Today, if you are on northbound Nutley trying to access westbound 66, you would stay to the right and then exit to the right onto the new loop ramp to I-66 West. And I'm going to turn it back over to Michelle, who's going to discuss some of the tools that are available to you to stay informed. Thanks.
Great, thank you, Nancy. Now I just would like to review some of the information and outreach tools that we have available to provide you and your neighbors opportunities to get the latest information on our construction. We've referenced our project website several times tonight. It's transform66.org. That is the main website page, and once you go there, you can easily click on the Outside the Beltway site, and that site gives you all of the information that you ever wanted to know about our project. It gives you ways to sign up and register to receive weekly email blasts and updates. If you do that, if you're not already on our email list, by signing up on our website, you will begin to get our notices, and it'll just come to you. We'll make it very easy for you. We have an interactive map available on our website where you can type in a particular location and you'll have information pop up that'll explain to you and also show you visually what we're building at that particular area and what to expect ultimately. We talked about our e-blasts. We send out notices several times a week, primarily focused on lane closures that are happening due to construction, as well as information about the actual construction activities. As we get closer to the Gallows Road work that we've discussed tonight, we'll begin to get news releases and alerts out on that work. So that would be the way to get the latest information related to Gallows. If you have a question about construction, you can reach us through a couple of ways. You can call the FAM Company's construction hotline at 703-662-3892. The messages are checked on that daily, and then Nancy's team will return your call to provide help, or you can email us. You can either email FAM at outreach@fam66.us to get your questions answered, or you can email our VDOT team at transform66@vdot.virginia.gov. Those are the two email addresses that we have set up that are monitored daily. So if you have questions or concerns, you can always reach us through the emails or through that construction phone number that I just gave you. Okay, now we are going to start our question and answer session. Before we do that, I'd like to just provide some quick ground rules, and then I'm going to turn it over to Supervisor Pelchak before we begin to give her an opportunity to say a few words to you all. Next slide. Next slide, Karen. Okay, great. Just quickly to go over how to ask your question. We are using the WebEx chat function. You just need to type in your question or comment into the chat box, and that's located at the bottom right of your screen, and direct it to everyone. Questions will be read aloud and answered in the order received. If you'd like to ask your question aloud rather than have us read it, just state that in your chat message, and then we'll unmute you and call on you when it's your turn to go ahead and ask your question. We will be turning the chat function on and off at intervals, just so we can make sure to keep up with all of the questions coming in. Participants will be able to see all messages that are sent to everyone. Questions that are sent to the host, presenter, or an individual will not be seen by the panelists or other participants. So you definitely want to send your questions to everyone to make sure that they get addressed tonight. If you'd prefer to state your comment aloud by phone, you need to press *3, and that will signify to us that you have a raised hand, and then we'll add you to the queue. When it's your turn, we'll mute your phone line. You'll hear a message saying that you've been unmuted, and then you'll be able to ask your question. When you're done asking your question, you're going to want to press *3 again to lower your hand. Again, if you're watching us through YouTube, you will not be able to interact with us through that platform, but you can contact us with one of the channels that I just went over with you. And then also just a reminder that the recording of tonight's session will be posted on our website tomorrow at transform66.org outside the Beltway, along with a copy of tonight's presentation. So we're turning the chat function on so you can go ahead and type in your questions. And before we start answering them, I'd like to ask Supervisor Palchuk to say a few words.
Hi, thank you, Michelle. I think I'm back on. I was kicked off earlier. Just want to thank Vida and the FAM team for providing this information to the community tonight and online. I do recommend that everyone here tonight ask your questions, follow up. There are ways to connect with Vida. I will also post my email if you would like to follow up with my office. Please know that FCDOT and I in my office continue to work with Vida and the team to help ensure that there is communication and minimize impact on you, on the schools, on our pedestrians, on the community. As you know, this is a VDOT project. So thank you all for being here tonight. Please be sure to ask your questions here and to follow up and share the information with any neighbors or community members who are not able to participate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Supervisor. I'm now going to turn it over to Justin, and he is, you'll hear him ask the questions, and then we'll have the appropriate person answer them.
All right, thanks, Michelle. Our first question will go to from Ethan Qua. We'll have Nancy go with this one. When the old Gallows Road Bridge over Interstate 66 is fully demolished, when will the traffic lanes on I-66 be shifted to the outer portion of the roadway in order to construct the new Gallows Road southbound bridge?
Thanks, Justin. So you'll actually start to see some traffic shifts over the next few weeks in various portions of both I-66 East and West. Near Gallows, just last month, or actually in August, I'm sorry, we shifted a portion of westbound just west of Gallows Road through to Nutley Street. And we'll do a similar area here in the next couple weeks along eastbound. In order to build the southbound, the second phase of Gallows Road Bridge, there is room in the outside shoulders to be able to do that under the current alignment. So what you'll see is construction of the new bridge kind of happening simultaneously as traffic shifts are being implemented. We do need the old Gallows Road Bridge out of the way in order to complete some of the roadway widening work through the underneath Gallows Road, however. Hope that answers the question.
All right, thanks, Nancy. Ken Quincy asks about pile driving. What is being done to minimize noise effect of daytime pile driving on Stenwood school classes? And Nancy, if you want to go with that, and Susan, you can probably chime in as well.
Yeah, I'll see. I don't know if Susan wants to help provide an answer to that. Pile driving is a noise producing activity. You know, honestly, I think the best way to minimize it is for us to get our work done as quickly as possible. There is not a lot that can be done about the noise that it does generate. You know, we do just try to get it done and started and done as quickly as possible to minimize the length of time that we are doing that activity. I don't know, Susan, if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yeah, no, I don't have anything. I mean, I think that's accurate. I mean, you know, it's just unfortunately a noisy activity. So I think, you know, trying to get finished as quickly as possible is, you know, the best thing. I don't know, Nancy, if you have any better idea when, you know, the timing of that or, you know, what you anticipate for additional work similar.
I
kind of intermittent.
Yeah, I don't have a good idea. The start of that work is dependent upon construction, I'm sorry, demolition progressing far enough in the area. But certainly as we get closer and have demolition closer to completion and have a better idea of when that pile driving activity would start, particularly on the north end. That is something that we can would communicate to the school, but also to nearby neighbors as well.
Okay, thank you. Next question from Ben. I think this one could be Nancy or Susan also. Considering a higher number of walkers to the metro will need to cross Gallows, will the light timing be adjusted? It already takes a long time to cross at Cottage. Thank you. So a question about signal timing, getting across Gallows and the pedestrian detour.
Yes, thanks, Justin. So signal timing is something that our team at FAM as well as VDOT are constantly monitoring throughout the project corridor, where we do have traffic signals that not only for pedestrians but also for drivers. That is something that we will watch, and thank you for raising it to our attention. I'll be sure to put that on our traffic engineers' radar screens as an extra touch point to monitor, and they constantly monitor and are able to make adjustments fairly quickly as needed. So that is an area that they will be monitoring, and we can make adjustments as needed if it is, pedestrians are having a challenging time.
All right, thanks, Nancy. Question from the hires, a comment with a question. We've already noticed increased speeds, cars running red lights from frustration and confusion as cars go over the bridge. Better communication and monitoring is needed to ensure the safety of the road, particularly so close to the school and for the buses exiting the school. What measures are being taken to inform people on the road of the lane changes and to ensure safety during this construction period? And certainly this meeting is one of them. Nancy, do you want to start with that?
I mean, we constantly encourage folks to sign up for updates and alerts to receive our notices about traffic pattern changes. There's not been a lot of actual traffic pattern changes on Gallows Road to this point, but or travel shifts, but those are coming. And, but so I think, the best tools are, the signage that we put out there, which we do know there are a lot of signs out there, but they are there for the traveling public's benefit, and also to sign up to receive our notifications and that we send out about traffic, lane closures and traffic pattern changes on the project.
And I would just note, we've coordinate on 66 quite a bit with the state police, but with Gallows Road, that would be county police. And so I will ask our team, make sure that we reach out and make sure that the county police are aware of the concerns that have been raised here.
All right, thank you. The next, we have a comment. Supervisor Palchik provided her email address, which is providence@fairfaxcounty.gov. Next is from Rebecca Knutson about pedestrian access from Stenhouse Place. We live on Stenhouse Place and do not currently have the ability to walk to Metro, as the sidewalks on Gallows both to the north and the south of us have been demolished. We understood that such access would be guaranteed during construction. When will this be addressed?
So as part of the shift of traffic onto the new bridge, Rebecca, there will be pedestrian access on the east side of the new bridge. So from Stenhouse Place, you would just come out to Stenhouse Place and make an immediate left onto the new bridge deck once the southbound travel lanes are shifted, and to be able to use the pedestrian sidewalk across Gallows Road. There will also be dedicated bike space on the new bridge deck as well. The bridge in its final configuration does contain both a sidewalk as well as a shared use path. The shared use path is on the soon to be built portion of the bridge. And so in the temporary configuration, I understand that the road is being configured so that the bike, there will be a dedicated bike lane on the travel lanes of the new Gallows Road bridge deck. But in general, I mean, pedestrian access is always maintained during construction across Gallows Road. It just might not always be on both sides of the bridge.
Okay, the next question is from JP. What is considered an acceptable amount of construction vibration? During the creation of the new bridge on several occasions, I and several neighbors thought we were having an earthquake before I remembered to check the construction updates. So Nancy, if you want to talk about some of the vibration monitoring.
Thanks, Justin. Yes, so we do monitor our construction vibrations, and vibrations are interesting because as for example, a big truck drives by, you can sometimes feel that in your house. The air movements actually can create the sense that things are vibrating more than they actually are. None of our activities are such that are known to cause any kind of type of damage to structures, but we do monitor those vibrations, and those vibrations in the monitoring alerts us to when our activities may be getting near a threshold of where we are at a tolerance level where we don't want our vibrations to be, and then we're able to reduce and pull back from that. So we do constantly monitor our vibrations, particularly when we have activities such as demolition and pile driving.
All right, thanks, Nancy. And the question, I think, is a good question for Susan more on the design side from Darla. Will there be a ramp from 66 to Gallows Road for buses to access Gallows Road directly from 66?
So yeah, the access at Gallows Road, there will be no access to 66 similar to what it is today. I would note that at a little bit farther west at Vaden Drive, where there is the metro station there will be new direct connections to and from the west that would allow people that are traveling on the express lanes, either buses, carpoolers, or single occupants, to be able to access that metro station directly. So we are adding access there. And I think, with Gallows Road, the issue is just that it's too close to the Beltway to be able to safely provide all of the, connections that you would need to provide. And of course, as you could see from the pictures on Nancy's slides, how close it is to the metro station and the school and all the other features there. It's just very, very tight in there. So unfortunately, no, there will not be.
All right, thanks, Susan. I would add that one metro stop to the east at the West Falls Church Metro VDOT project completed a couple months ago that has direct access from eastbound 66 to the West Falls Church Metro, but that was already existing ramps that were connected through there. So, but no, not at Gallows. The next question from the hires is what type of coordination are you doing with Stenwood Elementary to prepare the children and staff for the demolition explosion type sounds they will hear during the school day and at night? Nancy, you want to start with the first? I know we've touched on some of this already.
Yeah. So we coordinate fairly regularly with school facilities, Fairfax County Public School facilities, and have already shared some information with the school principal, and we'll be communicating more details with her as necessary. Yeah, I mean, so we're providing them information as best we can. So.
I was just going to add to that, Nancy, that we'll make sure the public communications that are going out, we'll make sure that as they're sent to the school, we will request that they be sent out to families or made available to families at the school.
All right, thanks. And related, there's a comment / question from Greg. Drive the piles when school is not in session.
Yeah, unfortunately, we cannot wait for school to not be in session to do certain aspects of our construction activities. I know that I was at a meeting, it seems like just 6 months ago, but it was probably really about 2 years ago, when the current principal, Erica, was actually the assistant principal, and she made a comment to me about how they had replaced the roof at the school during the school year, but students still continue to perform well. As I said earlier, driving a pile is really the only thing that we can do to minimize our impact is to finish the work as quickly as possible, but we cannot hold up the schedule of the bridge construction based on school session.
All right, thanks, Nancy. From the hires, follow up to that, is there a one-page summary / brief we can get for the community to be aware of when the demolition will happen during day, when at night, so residents can be prepared and adjust schedules? Nancy.
So there's a postcard mailer that's going out to a pretty broad swath of the area around Gallows Road Bridge. That provides some information, general information on timing, but also more importantly, how to get to where the locations on the website where information is provided. So to the hires specifically, I would say the best place, a resource for information is that project website and the project and the web page dedicated to Gallows Road. Will be updated, on a weekly basis with upcoming activities. And I guess we talked about it on an earlier slide, but essentially when we are working over top of the Dunn-Loring Metro Station or over top of I-66 East or West, that work must be done during the overnight hours. When we're not over those areas, then when feasible, our work will be done during daytime hours. And so, that you'll see that communicated out, but really that website is the best place to keep updated on a regular basis.
Thanks. And from the hires, comments, people on the road don't attend these calls, need signage and monitoring / enforcement. And as Susan noted, we'll coordinate with Fairfax County Police as well as with the traffic engineering team to ensure that we continue to get that out as construction progresses. From Rebecca Knutson to everyone, when you move the northbound lanes to the new bridge, how will you realign the entrance to Stenhouse Place? Our road has been reshaped so that our home's driveway will now open directly into the Gallows Road turn lane, and no one has ever responded to our neighborhood's questions as to how it will ultimately look, how striping and signage will be handled to ensure our ability to enter and exit Stenhouse Place safely, etc. Can you comment on these plans and what we can expect to see in the upcoming weeks? Nancy, you want to talk about how traffic will shift? I know we get a little technical with this one.
Rebecca, I know that there was some communication earlier this summer, and I was just asking Michelle and Justin if some of those communications ever got finalized and sent to you all. So we'll follow up tomorrow to make sure that those questions that your community had earlier in the summer are fully addressed. And I think that those will address some of your, specifically the questions that you have here on striping and the entrance to Stenhouse Place. as always, if there are issues day of and getting in and out of your neighborhood, I know Rebecca knows how to get in touch with me, but on the slides there is the construction hotline as well as our outreach at FAM. 66.us email goes to my team directly, and we're able to respond to those mechanisms pretty quickly to address if there is a truck blocking that's paving and you're not able to get out when you need to, or you have a mail delivery that is having a hard time. And thank you, Karen, for pulling those up. But Rebecca, we'll get back with you tomorrow on some of those specific questions and make sure that those questions were answered that you had earlier this summer that are the direct response to your questions here.
All right, from the hires comment, thank you for reaching out to the County PD. Again, from Rebecca Knudsen, is it possible to receive daily updates on construction plans as demolition and pile driving occur on Stenhouse Place? We're at the foot of the bridge, and so it would seem that such noise would be significant. Nancy, I know you've talked about that from a timing side.
I can address that one. I think that we're definitely committed to providing you regular communication. We will be focused on the progress that is happening, what's been achieved, what's coming up. We will do our best to get information to you all ahead of time, and to also keep the information on our Gallows Road page current. It's going to be, I think, very useful for you all to mark that Gallows Road page. That's where we will be providing the updates. But we certainly will be providing regular updates, at least weekly, so that you know what to expect.
Yeah, and I'll chime in as part of the team that does the updating on the website. Generally, we're providing updates on Fridays, and certainly with Baden and with 123, as the demolition progressed through those were twice a week, occasionally even 3 times a week, just trying to sort of update on where we were and what's coming up, knowing that weather often causes a lot of plans to ripple. From the hires, I second Rebecca Knudsen's comments requesting more frequent daily updates on when demolition and pile driving will occur. Time range. Okay. From Rebecca also, responding to the answer regarding current lack of pedestrian access to Metro from Stenhouse. Currently, we have to run across Gallows to walk to Metro. This does not seem safe or reasonable, nor does it seem to accord with what we were told we could expect at meetings prior to the beginning of construction. And as somebody actually who cycles through there, Rebecca, I believe that you all have access going to the north to Cottage, and that unfortunately is part of how the detour has been set up. That when one side of the bridge is closed, you do need to go either up to Cottage on the north side or down to the traffic signal on the south side to get across to the appropriate crosswalk to cross Gallows. Nancy, do you have additional on there, or is that okay? Got a nodding head from Nancy on that one. The next from the hires, responding to answer on communication with Stenwood Elementary. The school community has not been made aware of any of the plans or noise expectations. Improved outreach is needed here. Happy to liaise. And I think, Nancy, you touched on that. Nancy, you want to?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, we coordinate fairly regularly with the Fairfax County Schools Facilities and Construction Facilities team. And so they have been provided a lot of this information. Some of the details have just been updated as late as today. And, we had communicated with the principal several weeks ago, and then we'll be following up with her here, in the next week with details that she can be prepared to provide should she get questions. But some of these details are really, this is our first opportunity to share as things were really coming together even as late as this afternoon.
And I'll just add to that, Nancy, that agree, Deanna, that we need to make sure that the information is getting funneled, to the families and the parents so that they can prepare their kids and know what to expect. So we appreciate that offer, and we will definitely be reaching out to you to help us to make sure we're using the right channels to communicate to the families of Stemwood.
And the next question is in that vein from Rebecca. Suggestion: when notifying Stenwood Elementary of construction activities, would it be possible to also notify others in this neighborhood of anticipated noisy activities? And I'm getting nodding heads across the table from me. Question from the hires: is there a specific website page where these updates on demolition timing that you mentioned will be communicated and updated? Yes, that's the outside.transform66.org/Gallows Road. And I know we placed that link in the chat earlier. It's also in the PowerPoint. And we'll put that in the chat again when we get to the end, so you can have it there. From the hires, a sort of construction progress question. Fielding Stenwood PTA community questions here too. When will the new sound wall at Stenwood be completed? The fences are down at the Gallows corner of the school and need attention to ensure security of school properly. So Nancy, there's a construction sequencing question there on the noise wall side. And Deanne, I think quite related to your question about the fencing, are you referring to the construction fencing at the very southern end of the shared use path right by the bridge abutment? I think that's the one section that I recall a couple weeks ago we had a question around.
Yes, so we can go out and check. So she's saying the original wire fencing. So we actually installed board-on-board wood fencing around the school property along both I-66, along the I-66 side as well as the Gallows Road side to separate and create a barrier from the school facility from where our work was. And that is about a 10-foot solid board-on-board wood fencing that remains in place. The original wire fencing, I think, is the original VDOT limited access fencing along Gallows Road. It is, we can have it checked out. However, I don't think has been touched as part of our construction activities to this point. In terms of the sound wall at Stenwood, new sound wall was installed up to about the halfway point on the school property. We got as far as we could. There was some remaining Dominion energy work with relocating Dominion's duct bank that they provide to to WMATA, to the metro facility. That work was recently completed. However, a portion of the bridge abutment is in the way from us being able to fully complete the work there. We do have a small retaining wall that has to be built that will hold the future shared use path, and then the noise wall, the remainder of the noise wall will be installed. Cannot recall specific timing on that, though it's I do believe it's this coming winter, just in the next several months that would be complete once demolition is complete.
Yeah, Nancy, actually, I'll chime in also with that. We'll have Ali, one of our construction guys, also take a look at it in the morning. Several weeks ago, there's some tree branches. We had one of the big windstorms that came down through, and a little bit of the construction fence, I think, came down and got removed as part of, I think at that point it was the county removing some of the branches that were through there, and sort of that shared responsibility for the sidewalk through there. But yeah, we'll have some get out in the morning and take a look at that one. From Rebecca Knutson, I can send you photos showing that we do not have access to cottage. Wish I too could speak. Rebecca, if you'd like, you can take that as you putting your hand up. If you'd like to unmute yourself, you certainly can. We're far enough into the meeting that people have an opportunity to ask their questions. If you'd like to unmute yourself, you're certainly welcome to.
And I would also say, Rebecca, I had made a note to ask one of our guys to go out there tomorrow, and one of our traffic guys that kind of specializes in sidewalks and pedestrian, and to go out there in the morning and take a look around and see if anything needs to be addressed, or what more can be done to improve your pedestrian safety to be able to get to the metro station.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. The problem is, and I appreciate your letting me speak, typing is just not my forte. So Sorry about that. The problem is that what they've done is they've torn up the sidewalks, but also there's so much utility work and construction work being done that at present there is a dumpster and a very large cement block blocking the only place where you could possibly walk down to Cottage. And then there's roadway marked "Do Not Enter." So we kind of take that to be "Do Not Enter." It says so.
We'll certainly
that's-
appreciate you obeying the signs. But as I said, it sounds like I will.
Not climbing over the dumpster.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely am gonna double up on that, sitting, asking one of my guys. In fact, I'll send him an email tonight asking him if he could go out there tomorrow and check and see what things can be addressed to make that a little more friendly for you all.
Thank you.
All right, a couple clarifications from the hires. The original wire fencing, the part on the Gallows side, it keeps opening up. Okay, yep, I think we're thinking of the same place. Yep, so we'll between Charlie being out there in the morning and Ali taking a look at it from construction and traffic perspectives, they'll definitely get it figured out. And we have a final comment here from Rebecca. Technology note: please check your URLs. Both Safari and Google are stating your connection is not private. The websites are actually hosted through VDOT on the technology side, so there's some standards through there. That might be an issue with your browser. Sometimes there are compatibility issues through there. But we actually have one of our tech folks here who's helping us run the meeting, so we'll connect through with Karen on that. But you should not have any concerns about the security of the VDOT web pages that you're visiting related to the project. And that is the run of what we have question-wise. Yep, we can give it a minute if